Hello, guys. So, you're finally in that period for which you've been working so hard for so many months, and you're also done with your very first exam. I will not ask you how this first exam went, while I'll hope and I'll pray that it went as good as you wanted it to be. Let's not talk about it anymore. So, this point onwards, neither will you spare even one thought on your accounts paper, nor will I talk about it. Promise me that first and foremost. Okay? Done and dusted. It's over. Chapter closed. Books set aside. Question paper thrown away. Now, a full focus on what's coming next. Our second paper, law. Now, listen. A few points I have to tell you before I tell you what your strategy should be for these 1.5 days. Why have I come over here for you just before your examination? You know very well. I want to just quickly guide you through that what exactly can you do in these 1.5 days so that you ace your law paper really well. Listen, you've put in so many months of hard work. You've done enough already. Know that, believe that, let every cell in your body believe it that you have done enough already. You have worked so hard that this paper has to go well. There is absolutely no choice. This paper will definitely go well. You're understanding? So believe that, trust yourself, trust your preparation. You've done so much, it will definitely go well. Okay, so start listening to this whole discussion with me with a very nice positive mindset that yes, these 1.5 days I will create magic, and those 3 hours of law paper will be the best paper ever. Okay, yes, first and foremost, clear your mindset of all the negative thoughts and a nice positive approach. Okay, now listen, in these 1.5 days, what are you going to do? I'll just quickly tell you, I'll keep this very short. Okay, you will try to follow this as much as possible. All right, listen, in these 1.5 days, how are you going to study? See, there are some mistakes which I've seen a lot of students do in the past, and I don't want any of you to do these mistakes. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I'm making this video for you. See, in these 1.5 days, how are you going to prepare? What are you going to do? What is going to be your study methodology? You are not going to say and see whether you remember or not. Oh, I forgot this. Let me relearn this. No, that's not going to be your approach. You're not going to say and see. You're not going to test your memory. Instead, you are going to trust your memory that I have already done enough. I already know it all. I just have to read once. As soon as I read things as soon as I read all the concepts once again, that refresh button in my mind gets pressed, and that is all what is required. You're understanding? So in these 1.5 days, don't test how much you remember, how much you've forgotten. Instead, trust your preparation that you've done enough and just read through everything. Read through everything with 100% focus, 100% attention, because whatever preparation you're doing in these 1.5 days, what is your objective? Your objective is just to remember till day after tomorrow, which if you read once today, you will remember till day after tomorrow. You're not learning things in these 1.5 days because you want to remember them for 50 years. Right, guys? Whatever you're learning in these 1.5 days, it's only because you want to write that exam day after tomorrow. So therefore, in these 1.5 days, see, why am I telling you this? Because you have to be able to flip through each and every page in these 1.5 days, which will be possible only if things go a little fast. If you're going to say and see, if you're going to test your memory, oh, I forgot, let me learn it again. If you're going to have that approach, then that whole book will not get flipped through in these 1.5 days. Okay, and why am I saying we have to flip through the whole book? Because it's theory. It is very obvious that you might have forgotten a few things here and there. So once you read everything, your memory gets refreshed, and we need that. Okay, so please trust your memory. Know that you remember it all. Know you haven't forgotten anything. Yes, right now, if you see, that whole syllabus might be feeling like one big mountain, but you won't even realize how everything will get done, and will get done so smoothly. Don't even worry. See, before you in the past, students have done this. They've prepared for law in 1.5 days, and beautifully they've written the exam. Even you will be able to. Trust that, know that, believe that. Understanding? Now listen. Oh God, I don't know how much I should stress on this point. See, listen, I know I will receive a lot of slack for saying this, but this is the truth. In these 1.5 days, what is ideal self-study? What is not ideal? Watching marathons. You're understanding? You will be flooded. Your YouTube will be flooded with marathons in these 1.5 days. You're understanding? But yes, I myself am telling you, please don't. See, I'm not saying that, they're bad. What I'm saying is, you need to spend some time, just you and your book, because you know what is your strength and what is your weakness. You know that which part of the syllabus is your strength and which part of the syllabus is your weakness. You know that what will work for you and what will not work for you. You know where you need to spend more time and where you don't need to spend so much time. You're understanding? So in these 1.5 days, fill it in with you and your book. That's it. Okay? Keep social media, keep any form of screen as less as possible, especially audio and video. If you're reading notes, fine. If you're reading PDFs, fine. But any form of audio and video, keep it as low as possible. Focus more on just you spending time with your book. See, when do you fall back on YouTube videos? Let's say you're doing a particular chapter. You're realizing it's not happening. You're too stressed. There are too many thoughts in your mind. You need that initial motivation. You need that jump start. Okay. So for that, probably you can take up a video so that you get into the zone with the help of that video. Okay. But no more. If you feel a chapter just not happening on your own, then you take the help of a video. But otherwise, your ideal preparation strategy would be self-study. If you think tomorrow morning to evening, I will watch one marathon and done, syllabus over, you will feel like it's over, but actually it will not be. Okay, so focus more on self-study. Okay, now without any fear, without any sort of negative thought, listen to the whole plan that I've made for you for these next 1.5 days. I've sort of made with time zones, like I've divided the 3 days, today, tomorrow, and day after, into several time zones. So we will take up each chapter, target a certain time limit that within this much time we have to complete. If it doesn't get completed within this much time, that's all. It will be left over. We'll see later when we can cover it. But follow this to the T so that each chapter gets touched upon before your examination. Okay. Now listen. Today, you're back from your accounts exam. Accounts exam got over at 5. Let's say you start studying at 7. 7 to 9. 2 hours, you can finish off special contracts. Yes, I'm asking you to start with other laws and not with company law. That is one of the biggest mistake that students do, that they start off with company law. And then company law keeps going on and on and on. It feels like it's a never-ending syllabus. And by the time you start other laws, either tomorrow evening or day after tomorrow morning, it's too late. Okay, but other laws, on the other hand, if you start off now, right now, you have that energy, you have that motivation, and it will get done fast, and 40 marks is not a joke, and complication is not possible, and it's easy. And for 40 marks, proportionately, there's much less to study over here than Companies Act. You're understanding? This is the part, guys, which is going to be your strength part. This is the part which will help you, reach that real good score. You're understanding? So yes, start with special contracts. Start with this 7 to 9, 2 hours, finish off the whole special contracts. In case you think you need help, you can make use of a video which I've put up on my YouTube channel. For 1 hour, the whole of the chapter gets revised in 1 hour without skipping any concept. The whole chapter does get revised. But again, what I told you earlier, focus will be first on self-study. Just in case you need help, know that this is available. Okay. Now, in special contracts, please pay a little extra attention to agency and to bailment, to these two. Okay. Then coming to Negotiable Instruments Act, once you finish special contract, 7 to 9, have your dinner, take 30 minutes break, and then 9:30 you get on work to Negotiable Instruments Act. And for 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours is good enough time. You can finish off Negotiable Instruments Act. In Negotiable Instruments Act, pay a little extra attention to the last part of the chapter, that section 138, dishonor of checks, section 138 onwards. You have cognizance of offense, you have interim compensation, all that entire part of Negotiable Instruments Act, make it your strength part. Do that part really well. Also see acceptor for honor ones. And yes, of course, HIDC concept, do it really well. Okay. Now, once you're done with these two things tonight itself, you are done with around 25 to 30 marks of your question paper. With this itself, it gets done. Yeah, this evening itself, you're done with around 25 to 30 marks of your question paper, done and dusted. Okay, that itself will give you such a nice sleep tonight, knowing that you're done with 30% of your question paper, roughly 30%. You're understanding? Now, see, I have kept sleeping time from 12 to 6, but you might either be a night owl or you might be an early bird. Accordingly, you tweak things here and there, whatever will suit you. Okay. Now, tomorrow morning when you wake up, you start with company law. The remaining 2 chapters of other laws we'll see later. Tomorrow morning, you will start with company law. You will start with 3 small chapters. Those 3 chapters which students very, very often overlook because they think that okay, they're small chapters. Because they're small chapters, they feel insignificant to us. But these 3 chapters put together, guys, will appear in your examination for around 12 to 15 marks. Okay, so you're done with around 30 marks today evening. Tomorrow morning, 2 hours, you will be done with these 3 chapters. Another, let us say, 12 marks, let us say. So you're done with 40 plus marks by tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock itself. Just a little smart study technique this is, so that your paper goes very, very smooth. By the time you're done with these 3, you will have that inner satisfaction that I'm already done with 40% of my question paper. I still have the whole of today and tomorrow left. Now, after you're done with these 3, you will feel like, nice energy you will feel, which will be utilized by you to finish off this dreadful chapter, accounts of companies. A lot of students dread this chapter because of the CSR concept, which you will do very, very well. Okay, see, in deposits chapter, you have those list of exclusions, that what and all is not considered as deposits. Do that list of exclusions very well. In accounts of companies, do the CSR concept very, very well, guys. Then annual return, do that concept also properly along with penalty of annual return, and also the filing of financial statements with ROC. That concept. Okay, do these really well in accounts of companies. Once you're done with accounts of companies, you will need a break, because from morning you've been studying. You take your breakfast break of 30 minutes and then you get to the auditors chapter. Okay, 10 to 11:30, 1.5 hours, solid time to finish off the auditors chapter. In the auditors chapter, give a little extra attention to the disqualifications, of course, and also to resignation and removal of auditor, and first auditor. These would be your highlight cases, your non-negotiable cases, your non-negotiable concepts in the auditors chapter. You finish them for from 10 to 11:30, 1.5 hours you finish them. After this, I have scheduled half an hour of a pause. Either you use it as a buffer if something could not get completed, finish that here, or you take a break, or you take a nap, whatever. Then freshly at 12 noon, you will start with the prospectus chapter. Okay, prospectus chapter, 1.5 hours. You can finish it easily, rush through it quickly. Give a little extra attention to civil liability, criminal liability, section 34, 35. A little extra attention to private placement, and a little extra attention to red herring prospectus and shelf prospectus. Do these 3 parts really well. Try to finish this chapter in 1.5 hours. This might be a slight challenge, but try your best. Okay. After this, I've kept a lunch break of 30 minutes. Finish your lunch here, and then after lunch, freshly you start with share capital. You've had a break, and now you can take up something nice and big, and at the same time important, you'll take up the share capital chapter, 2 to 5, guys. In one go, without any break, you will sit for these 3 hours, and you will finish off this chapter as beautifully as you can. In these 3 hours in the share capital chapter, your extra focus has to be on buyback, then on section 66, reduction of share capital, section 61, alteration of share capital, redemption of preference shares, section 55, sweat equity shares, section 54. These are your important highlight areas in the share capital chapter. Okay, once you're done with your share capital chapter, you will take a well-deserved 15 minutes break. It's only 5 p.m. tomorrow evening, but you're done with major syllabus you're done with. Okay, you still have that whole evening left. You still have the next day half left with you. Very, very calm mind. Stay calm, guys. Just don't have, any sort of overexcitement or nervousness. Just stay calm. Be like a rock in these 1.5 days. Absolutely no feelings. Just keep doing the best that you can. Okay, then at 5:15, let us say after taking a break, you start with your initial part of Companies Act, the preliminary chapter, basics, incorporation, MOA, AOA, the doctrines and all. You finish that off in 2 hours, 15 minutes. Do that off properly. Here, do listed and unlisted company. Do that part properly. Holding subsidiary companies, that concept, and 1% company and Section 8 company. These 4 have to be done very well in the different kinds of companies. And do this also properly. In incorporation, you have Section section 10A, right? Section 10A, the formalities which you have to fulfill before you commence business in the company, right? Section 10A, that filing of declaration within 180 days, that that the subscribers have fully paid for the shares taken up by them, that part, that section 10A along with penalty. Do this part properly. Then once you're done with this, you're done with most of Companies Act. You only have the meetings chapter left. You're done with the whole of Companies Act. You're done with. Only management and administration chapter is left. And in other laws, you're done with whole of other laws. Only 2 chapters are left: General Clauses Act and Interpretation of Statutes. That itself will give you a good sense of satisfaction, and you will have the energy now to take up General Clauses Act and Interpretation of Statutes. General Clauses Act, 1.5 hours, nicely you can finish off. In General Clauses Act, pay a little extra attention to the good faith discussion, then to the document definition, and to the last part of General Clauses Act, which talks about all those interpretation principles like gender, then a number, then aerial distance, then the draft publication, previous publication. So that last part of interpretation principles, that from and to, that computation of time, all of that. Okay. Then comes interpretation of statutes. Guys, give yourself honest 2 hours. These 2 hours, sit consistently for these 2 hours. Sit with 100% focus. These 2 hours, as much as you can do in interpretation of statutes. Do the rules a little extra better, the primary rules and the secondary rules, and the internal aids and external aids. Okay, this part do properly. I know interpretation of statutes, many of you dislike the chapter. Yes, but still give yourself this last chance of 2 hours, guys. And in these 2 hours, try to fill it in with as much of interpretation of statutes chapter as possible. Okay, and then I've left a buffer of 30 minutes for you to finish off whatever is left over, and then you go to sleep. Now, next morning when you wake up, the day of the examination, you know that you're done with the whole syllabus. Only one thing is left, which is the meetings chapter. The chapter with which students start preparation and then mess up the whole 1.5 days. I am going to ask you to do it towards the end with a reason. Reason number 1, it's lengthy. So if you start with the meetings chapter, you end up spending too much time on one single chapter. And number 2, this chapter does not have any fixed weightage. In some examinations, it has not even come in the examination. In some examinations, it has come only for 4 marks. Some examinations, it has gone up to 12 marks. So what's the maximum stake? 12 marks. Now for this chapter, I myself, who told you not to rely on marathons, I myself will tell you that for this chapter, please watch this 2.5 hours video. Don't sit on your own with this chapter, because once you start sitting on your own with this chapter, it will take time, it will stretch, it will keep extending. Okay, but we can give max to max 3 hours for this chapter. So watch this video. It's a 2.5 hours revision video. Watch it at one length without any pause. Watch it at normal speed. Learn along with the video, revise along with the video. Nothing else required. Everything else will get covered over here. It's a 2.5 hours video. You watch the video first, and then you still have a half an hour left. Use that half an hour to finish off whatever questions that you have to see from this chapter. Okay, so this chapter, I insist, please make use of that video. Instead of trying to do self-study and then coming to the video, start off with the video. Yes, it will be effective. Trust me with that. Okay, now once you're done with this, by 9 o'clock, day of the examination, you're done with your whole syllabus. You still have a few hours. These few hours, use them properly. Listen to what I've planned for you for these last few hours. RTP, MTP, and whatever questions you've marked and kept. 1.5 hours. Finish off all these questions. Quick glance through all the questions. 11 to 12, I've kept 1 hour of leftover in case anything you couldn't finish in this period. Finish it off in this 1 hour. Then, day before yesterday, you would have learned special contracts and NI Act, right? So therefore, you will need some brush through once again. So I've kept 1 hour, half an hour, split this 1 hour into 2 parts. Special contracts, NI Act, just brush through once, glance through once, and then last 20 minutes, 1 to 1:20. If you have the 4th edition of my book, you'll have that cherry on top, the last part of your book where I've put all the limits, all the punishments, all the number of days, all the Latin maxims, all the case laws. That last part called the cherry on the top. That, guys, you will just see that for the last 20 minutes, because whatever is difficult in law is there in those few pages. Those of you who don't have my material. Don't worry. The cherry on the top, that last part as a PDF, I'll share off in my Telegram group. So you can see it from there. Okay. So the last 20 minutes has to be just that. And then you close everything. You just chill for some time. All right. And you walk into the examination hall, nice and happy that you're going to kill it. You're understanding, guys? Go do it the best that you can. I am so excited about how well you're going to do the paper, guys. It's going to go amazingly well. You're going to kill it. During these 1.5 days, you might reach points of time, where you're getting overwhelmed. At all those points, pause, breathe, tell yourself it will go amazing, because trust me, it is going to be an easy paper and it is going to go really, really well. Okay, go kill it, guys. Do these 1.5 days really well. Follow the schedule, share it with your friends. All the best. I'll pray for you. Bye-bye.